There we go. Da, 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 da. Yes, I know, we've done this how many times now? Split. I'm pretty sure I get the picture. Actually, I need to double check my microphone before I put it up to my mouth. Because you may not hear it on Skype, but this thing can be crazy loud. Okay, it's good. It's behaving today. So put that on. This one. Dun, dun. Should be recording.
Hello everyone, welcome to an Unearthly podcast where our host seems to have misspelled journey and center, but center at least I blame the Brits. And journey can be seen on the stream.
I swear today, I recorded off the picture that I'm showing, so I don't know.
So today, well, first off, possibly new time, we don't know yet, but our old time kind of got eaten up by my work schedule, so consider the time a work in progress. We are lacking a Flynn tonight, so we may adjust based off that, or this might be our new time, so keep a heads up. It's myself, the Man in Black, Mad Matt, and Randy. And since it's been a little while, we're going to be talking about both Journey to the Center of the TARDIS and the Crimson Horror. Theme.
Alrighty, theme.
I swear there were no monkey bars in that episode. Might have been a better episode with them.
Matt, when we're done here, I want a copy of this theme.
Yes, I quite liked it myself. That's why I picked it.
I liked it too.
Just the fact that I had Doctor in the TARDIS, I'm more like, okay, you get extra credit points.
Did you get this off of Whomix?
Yes.
You'll have to tell me which one, but later.
Well, you don't want everyone else feeling it first?
Well, no, we've got 2 episodes to go through and basically 2 hours to go through it with.
So we started with how much bile we got on this one alone.
No. First we do the review, Matt. The summary. And that's you.
So, let's journey to the center of this episode. Now, let's remind everyone, first off, the beginning of this episode is a moment that has been foreshadowed since Rings of Akhaten, so something pretty good must be coming up here, right? Clara and the TARDIS are having their little cat fight that isn't a cat fight going on for several episodes, so the Doctor decides to turn the TARDIS into I don't think he uses the word, but he puts the TARDIS in safe mode.
I think he calls it simple mode.
Sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
For Clara to run it.
Basic mode, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Which, although with the whole thing about the desktop themes and whatever, I think it would have been amusing to call it safe mode, but that's besides the point. So Clara starts to, he tells Claire to fly the TARDIS. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know what any of the buttons do, but
I don't think she gets a chance to, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For some reason, he had to turn off the shields in order for this basic mode for Clara to fly the TARDIS, which results in the most powerful ship in the universe being susceptible to standard scavenger technology. So the ship is disabled and placed in a scrap heap, which both throws the Doctor out of the TARDIS and throws Clara farther into it. Which brings us to our supporting cast for the day, which I will call them Asshole 1, Asshole 2, and Cyborg.
very much.
Asshole 1, Asshole 2, and Moron.
Yeah, there you go. That works.
Actually, yeah, that works too, because, oh my word. We'll get to that.
Yes. So the Doctor pretty much figures out they're the ones who disabled the TARDIS, and so they're the ones who are going to go in and help find Clara. Now, they're looking at this like, whatever that ship is, it's leaking fuel, it's going to blow, anyone who goes in there is going to die. The Doctor is like, well, it's your fault, so we're going to go find Clara. He engages once again in a, he claims he is going to blow up the TARDIS in 30 minutes if they do not find Clara. He starts out as an hour, but
he
when
pretty much corbomites them.
Yes.
Yes, although we don't know that yet. Speaking of which, I believe there's a planet with a similar name to Corbomite somewhere in Doctor Who. I remember seeing it when I was watching some old episodes. It was like Corbos or something.
Maybe. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so he tells them it'll blow up in an hour if they don't find her. Their response was obviously, if this is that big of a ship, we're not going to find her in an hour. He's like, well, you need more motivation, so 30 minutes. So they panic, run into the ship, or run through the TARDIS, and go looking for Clara. Clara, who meanwhile has found a library, which conveniently has a book called The History of the Time War. Interesting, considering that there's only been one survivor of the Time War, but, she opens it and she just happens to find the right page in the middle of the book that has the Doctor's name.
Or at least that's what we think, anyway.
Yes, her response is, so that's who. Because Doctor Who. So she then goes on to wandering the TARDIS, where a zombie starts chasing after her. So she's running from the zombie, the Doctor is trying to find her. Eventually they find themselves in an alternate control room. We could consider this basically a backup hard drive type of deal.
No, it's the main control room.
Is it the main control room?
Yeah, because you see the partially disassembled control room where the guy started disassembling it earlier, which you didn't mention, but I'll mention.
Oh yeah, now. I didn't mention that. Yeah, that's right. There was a scene earlier, basically where one of the scavengers starts trying to take. Yeah.
Basically decide, instead of rescuing her, we're going to start piecemealing this thing. And one of them takes apart the TARDIS console. So when they go back into there, you see the partially disassembled console.
Which is, I thought he said that one was actually a backup, but I might be mistaken.
No, what he was saying is the fact that basically it was making copies of the console. Yes, you MMO players out there, this means that basically the TARDIS does instancing. Because apparently the Doctor and was it the android, the fool was in one instance, while Clara was apparently in another instance.
Right. Oh, okay. I know what you mean by instancing now. Talking about that, yeah. So the Doctor manages to sonic a cart. It's a device that is intended to find useful technology. The magic screwdriver, because I don't think we can really call it sonic anymore after these two episodes.
I don't even think you can call it a screwdriver.
Well, what it essentially
I have against that for a while now. It's more of a multi-tool.
It's an interface. It's a psychic interface with the TARDIS, and yet for some reason the Doctor has no problem with it falling into enemy hands like he would the actual TARDIS. The reason he can scan things through it is because it's some sort of psychic interface with the TARDIS.
Yeah, I figured that out a long time ago, actually.
Right. So he uses this to turn a device that's intended to find useful technology into something that can find human beings instead. And he combines this with the sonic screwdriver to pull Clara from one version of reality to
one instance to the other instance.
Yeah.
We're just going to refer to it as instancing now.
Might as well. So he pulls her through, kind of like the girl who waited, except I feel it's slightly more hand wavy, even though that was it was a little hand wavy the first time, but
this one's really hand wavy.
Yeah. So Clara is pretty much, what the hell is going on? Why are there zombies in your TARDIS? You know, what kind of a good guy are you? She talks about basic storytelling, which is extremely ironic for reasons that we won't go into quite yet. So, as we're going on, we start journeying to the center of the TARDIS because the Doctor realizes that, hey, even though he was actually bluffing again about blowing up the TARDIS, because in addition to liking Jammy Dodgers, he was apparently a big fan of classic series Star Trek, as Randy mentioned, the famous episode. So then he realizes the TARDIS is actually going to explode. So we go by, we visit the Eye of Harmony, and he discovers that the engine has exploded and there are broken fuel rods. And we find out the reason for the fuel rods not long after, because one of them pierces the third brother, who is supposedly an android. The purpose of the scene being that he's not actually an android, he's flesh and blood, and they were lying to him in order to essentially take his inheritance.
He's their younger brother.
Right, he's a
and
younger
he's
brother.
Dumb enough to fall for it.
And he's supposed to be the smart one, according to their backstory, right? Because he was supposed to be the captain. And he lost his memory and his eyes. Am I thinking that right?
Eyes
in
and part of his voice box.
Right. And they managed to trick him into thinking that he was an android for however amount of time, despite his
Better
needing to
keep
use biological.
talking fast, Bill. My rants are starting to build up here.
All right. So we go on to the whole thing about going deeper into the TARDIS than ever before, and they discover a rock quarry, because that's never been something in Doctor Who before. And the Doctor once again interrogates Clara as to what she really is, establishes the fact that she's not lying, she's just a girl, just a person. The Doctor comes up with the idea that the TARDIS is trying to make the area that... Actually, I might be taking these out of order because I know they're jumping to the engine. So yeah, I'm thinking the scene actually happened earlier than some scenes I mentioned. So they jump into what looks to be the most dangerous area because the Doctor realizes it's an illusion set by the TARDIS. And they land in the engine, find that the TARDIS, the engine's exploding, they're all going to die, and that the zombie creature is their future. So
yeah, you're way out of order here.
Yeah, that's why I usually don't follow these as much in order as what leads to what. But anyway, the Doctor and Clara managed to use hand waviness to create a reset button, and the Doctor steps through a crack in time in the TARDIS. I'm not exactly sure what that was. Anyone want to help me there?
It looked like the cracks from season 5, but it was apparently...
Yeah, but was that explained?
No, it was just bullshit out of nowhere.
A time rift, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so the Doctor...
I'll rant on that later. Finish.
The Doctor steps through a crack in time, gives the reset button to himself from the beginning of the episode. And therefore, the episode never happened.
Yes. Which is yet another problem of this episode.
And, hey, we're not talking about problems. And on to the Crimson Horror.
I thought we could cover that one when we actually got to that episode.
That works, because I've been talking for a long time.
Good, because I'm about to turn blue with sheer rage now.
Are we going to deal with these problems in a linear order or a non-linear order?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say this is the worst Doctor Who episode I think I have seen since the reboot.
Oh,
and yes, that includes Love and Monsters.
Love and Monsters I can forgive all over the place just because there's ELO everywhere.
Yeah, and, they had to work with a lame monster given to them by Blue Peter's contest winner, so,
Not to mention the kid's idea was better because it was supposed to be a multi-story monster, but I digress.
Yes, but even so, with all that, there is no excuse for this episode. There is no excuse for the amount of advertising they put into this episode.
And yeah, there's so much foreshadowing for this episode. not to mention just the name in and of itself, anything less than the most epic episode of the season would have been a disappointment anyway.
And this is the low point of this season.
Yeah, and
there is absolutely no redeeming quality to this episode whatsoever. Oh, wait. It does not include River Song.
I walked into this episode knowing that my expectations were too high and knowing that I was going to be disappointed, and I was still disappointed by at least 2 orders of magnitude beyond that.
I knew that this was either going to be very, very awesome or it was going to suck. I had no idea of the depths that it would suck. Okay.
Suckish beyond the level of 9,000.
2 things. Besides the fact that there's no River Song, the set they used for the library was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
The set.
And if I recall, this is one of Randy's pet peeves. I believe there was no swimming pool featured in the library.
No.
So that...
Yes, there was no swimming pool in the library. They showed the swimming pool in a separate area. So bonus.
Now that said,
catch the swimming pool on the second view through.
I would definitely say that Clara herself was the best thing about this episode, which is basically saying, I know when we discussed this, Randy kind of didn't count that because our regulars know what they're doing. They are their characters. They do a good job. We can move on. And that's true. But I would still say that Clara was definitely the best thing about the episode.
Now, let's get to what's wrong with this episode. First of all, most of the sets. The 90% of the scenes in here take place in corridors in the TARDIS, which look like partially dismantled sets from Star Trek Voyager.
And most of the ones that didn't took place in the console room.
Yes.
Because when we're looking to see brand new parts of the TARDIS, we want to see the console room again and again.
Oh, and the hallways again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
As we've shown, has been this large, epic, scrawling thing. You'd think the corridors would be large, epic, scrawling. Go rent Castra Valva and look at the TARDIS corridors in there.
I was actually about to ask, this or Invasion of Time, which has a better portrayal of the TARDIS?
Well, I would say Castra Valva. Invasion of Time has a better overall, and we actually see more actual rooms in Invasion of Time. In the Invasion of Time, we saw the pool room, the workshop, several corridors, yes, the auxiliary power room, one aviary, and sickbay. And we actually saw the rooms. They went into them. They went through them. There was occasionally battles in them.
Yes. And I might add that, that is one of the biggest flaws that came to me as I was watching this episode was, where's more rooms? Where's actually things happening in rooms? Where's more rooms? Why are we watching more hallways?
It was, this was something that was weird about the last time we had an episode featured on a spaceship, which was dinosaurs on a spaceship, and that is, for some reason in this season, spaceship rooms seem to be giant areas that might as well essentially be open space on a planet or confined corridors. There's nothing that actually says, you're in a room. Which is strange because the console room is a room. It's a big room, but it's clearly a room designed for, the idea of a room being a desirable aesthetic.
And if you think about it, I mean, most of the rooms, and in relation, we have these corridors, which are tiny, cramped little things.
Yeah. That's also another thing, because, we've seen the corridors before. They're much bigger. They're always much bigger than that.
These were the corridors that we got to by the doctor pointing at an access hatch on the floor with the screwdriver and crawling into it.
So, they're Jeffries tubes?
Jeffries tubes.
Those of you that are going, what the hell is a Jeffries tube? Star Trek. All those little corridors, all those little tunnels that they crawl through on the ships are Jeffries tubes, named after Matt Jeffries, the set designer. And I know too much about ships.
Those don't really exist. That goes to nowhere.
Anyway, that's one problem. Another problem is the fact that your supporting cast are completely and totally unlikable.
Oh God, yeah, that was also the first thing that really did hit me is really we're going to be stuck with these guys.
That's the interesting thing. Normally, if the Doctor was like, I'm going to blow you up if you don't do what I say, you would be like, kind of like, Doctor, I think you're going a little off the edge, whereas here you're kind of like, yeah, you should do it. These guys really deserve it.
There's just no quality to them. And so, all these scenes where they're in peril, you don't care. You're rooting for the monster.
Yes, you want the zombie to eat these motherfuckers.
There's one guy that you kind of don't want to die, but at the same time, he's stupid enough that he's been strung along and told that he was a robot, even though he has to use all of his biological functions.
You would think with somebody, it's like, oh wow, I need to sleep. I need to eat. I need to poo. I'm not a robot.
Like how many androids need to take a shit every 24 hours?
I was saying it a little nicer than that, but yes.
Hitting it point blank.
You would think with all those basic bodily functions,
even a robot would start to wonder what the hell's up.
The possibility of, hey, I'm not a robot, but no. I don't know if it's the brain damage that did it or what, but it basically just turns him into a ginormous tool.
I feel if he had that much brain damage, he wouldn't be able to function as part of their team anyway.
One would think.
Like if he had so much brain damage that he couldn't tell the difference between, what a human does and what an android does.
So, you've got disappointing sets, disappointing casting, and then finally the writing itself was horrific. I mean, okay, the entire thing becomes, they basically bring zombies out of nowhere to basically have them something to chase, and then try to justify them that saying that they're future echoes coming back. Yeah.
Red Dwarf did better.
Yeah.
In neither future of the episode, like if you look at the ending of the episode and there's kind of several futures presented there, neither one of them involves anybody burnt and zombified. Like you don't even he's all, oh, I killed Clara again. You don't even see her, oh my God, Doctor, no, and get burnt at the end. Nothing like even in the even when he turns around and he's like, I'm going to reset this. No, she's perfectly fine at the end, standing there with.
That leads to even another problem. The fact that they ended this in a reset button that would have made Russell T. Davies cringe. The man who's known for reset buttons. The thing even had a button.
It was literally a fucking button.
It was literally a reset button. The only difference is it said big friendly button on it instead.
Mm-hmm. So, everything that was bitched about Russell T. Davies' era having too many reset buttons, and what do? They use a reset button.
They literally make one and literally call it a reset button. How unoriginal.
So, you get all this, and what's your payoff? Well,
Alex.
The shit that's potentially about the Doctor's name, and more stuff about Clara. Well, the Clara stuff has been so overdone by now that I don't care.
The Doctor's name stuff has been so overdone that I don't care.
The Doctor's name stuff, I knew from the moment it first showed up that this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
I still feel that way, that it is still a bad idea.
Yeah, giving the Doctor an actual name is not going to make this show good. It's not even a good idea. Why are they even trying to traverse this direction is beyond me. Because even Russell T. Davies said it was a bad fucking idea.
The only way that I could find it slightly redeemable would be if they said the Doctor's name was The Other, and that was his real name. But at the same time, that would open up so many cans of worms. I really hope they don't go that route.
I really don't. And I also, To me, it's kind of the Doctor Who equivalent of telling people who killed Laura Palmer. It's something you just shouldn't do because it's going to kill ratings, no matter what you reveal it's going to be.
Kill Laura Palmer. I should know
That's
this.
Twin Peaks.
Ah! Gotcha.
Twin Peaks.
I haven't seen it.
For those of you that don't know, Twin Peaks was a show around 1990, directed by David Lynch. The main portion of the plot was that a FBI agent had come to this town in, I think, either southern Washington or northern Oregon to investigate the murder of this girl who was found across state lines, named Laura Palmer. So the big question was, who killed her? And they managed to drag that out for a season and a half before they eventually revealed it. And starting from the week after they revealed it, their ratings just kept dipping lower, 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 lower. Once the mystery was solved, people lost interest. And while I don't think that's going to completely kill it, I think some people, no matter what you reveal it's going to be, are going to be so turned off by the answer, they're not going to want to watch.
Or at the very least, not until producers change.
Yeah, and they can forget that it happened.
It never happened.
The Doctor's name is the face of Bo.
It's one of those things that it's like for me, it's like the TV movie with them revealing the Doctor was half human. Basically, fan base said no, and when the reboot happened, there's been no mention of it. Why? Because they're basically just pretending it didn't happen. I think Moffat's kind of lost his base on this. There is, first of all, how this episode got past his screening, I don't know.
Yeah, like this really, like, I mean, for all we've talked about him as a producer, there are certain things he's very consistent with, and one of them is tone and, you know, supporting characters, and the tone and supporting characters of this episode are just
mind-bogglingly awful. It's like he never even looked at the damn thing. It's very blatant.
It's kind of how I've been feeling about a lot of stuff that's been going through recently.
Honestly, just looking at, especially with the title and how much has been foreshadowed, it was almost like they sat there and they're like, what are all the things that would make a good episode? Let's not do any of them.
Yeah,
it's strange because I cannot think of a single fan who, given half the budget of this episode, could not come up with at least a more enjoyable episode, if not a better one.
Oh yeah, by far, easily.
Like, I can't think of, find a writer that you cannot stand, and
I could write probably an episode with the same concept and write it 1,000 times better. Sure, it would probably take me a couple of years, but I could do it.
Unless someone was also cracking the whip over your head constantly.
In which case, I'd probably crank it out, you know?
Yeah.
Here's the question. Is this the only episode that Stephen Thompson has written?
No. It's the first one he's written in a while, though.
He wrote, that's right, The Curse of the Black Spot. And that was the better episode than this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, is this the first one Matt King has directed? Looks like it.
Ooh.
We've got a second-time writer and a first-time director. That's not an excuse for it, but...
But it's kind of hitting that point over the head, though, ain't it? Something's obviously not right here.
Yeah, there's something is definitely not right, and to be honest, it's not the direction.
It's not entirely direction, no.
It's like, honestly, the main thing the director could have done to make this better would have been the way the characters were handled.
Oh,
Even there, I think he might have.
And that's not a one-man job, obviously. But.
Yeah. Again, I think he did the best with what was handed to him. The problem is, you can try to polish a turd so much, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be a turd.
And
And this was a big stink. This was the writing equivalent of diarrhea.
I mean, visually, I would still say, I mean, this is one of those questions, where it depends on what is in the director's control and what's in the producer's control. A movie, I would blame the director, but here I'm more likely to say, this is probably something that was more of the producers had more control over, and that's, like we were talking, the rooms, the corridors, and all that type of stuff.
Yes.
In a movie, I would flat out say, what was the director thinking? In a TV show, the director might not have actually had any control over it.
This should not have gotten to the director. This should have been stopped in the writing phase. This should have been, had Stephen Moffat walk in, put his foot down, and go, take it back, write it again.
And do it better this time.
Speaking of baffling things, now, I'm trying to remember what my actual reaction watching it was, and I'm pretty sure it was just to pause the show, walk out of the room, post in our Skype group about it, sit down, shake my head, and watch and finish watching. But fucking fuel! I mean, I know we don't curse that much here, but still, fuel rods.
Now, the people watching may remember a little movie called Galaxy Quest. It was kind of a Tim Allen movie that was kind of a spoof off of Star Trek's popularity.
Yep.
And there's a scene in there where they're walking through the ship, and they mention that's like, you got to turn right here and go straight through the chompers. And Sigourney Weaver's character is going, chompers? What the heck are chompers there for? I object to this. There was no purpose to them being here. This was a poorly written episode. And that's the same problem we have here.
Yeah.
There is no reason for there to be fuel rods on the TARDIS.
No, and literally in the episode, I mean, literally the only reason that they're there is so that the guy who thinks he's a robot can get stabbed with them.
And to try to force some peril into this episode, which has been actually lacking any sort of credible peril, and this doesn't really add any.
Nope.
An episode that's supposed to be about racing to find somebody in an exploding ship, a ship that might explode, that's leaking fuel and has been damaged, a ship that we know blowing up would destroy the universe of. You'd think there'd be some suspense in there, but the most suspense that we can find is this guy got stabbed with a fuel rod, and he's actually flesh and blood.
What?
Yeah, it was bad. And, even from just a sheer statistical standpoint, everything we know about how the TARDIS runs, both methods we know of how the TARDIS runs, doesn't include needing fuel rods.
Yeah.
Those of you that know what fuel rods are...
You can't store rift energy in a fuel rod, and you sure as hell can't store an Eye of Harmony in a fuel rod.
Nope.
No,
and
the only thing that we know fuel rods are for nuclear reactors, and the TARDIS is not nuclear powered, ladies and gentlemen.
We see the Eye of Harmony in this episode, so what in the world would a fuel rod possibly have to do with that? Like, unless they're storing temperon particles in them.
Which I kind of doubt. Because...
Not the fact that they looked like plain iron rods when they went through the thing. Hell, they weren't even glowing.
Yeah. It was no futuristic sci-fi glowy things or anything. It was just metal pipes.
Rebar, essentially. It wasn't well written. It wasn't well created. I will blame the director for this if he had any input on set design.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I was saying direction. You can't tell if that's the director or the producer that really had to say over that.
Mm-hmm. But it's a really disappointing look at the image of the TARDIS.
I mean, what do you guys think of the acting of the supporting characters? Do you think that they just did the best they could with a crap script, or do you think they could have actually put something different in?
That's the thing. If I was an actor and I was given a crap script like this, I would have been playing it for cheese.
Yeah.
I can see that. And
yeah. Look at like goddamn, what's his name? Irons from Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, that's the best example I can think of.
just go all completely bonkers
Yeah,
over the
at that
top
point,
and not
Jeremy
give a
Irons
shit.
just handed
Jeremy
that
Irons.
script is like, okay, this is going to be crap. They're paying me a crap load to be here. I'm going to just take this to the bank and have
Honestly,
fun with it.
you know what I would have done? If I were one of those guys, I would have Jabba the Hutted that shit. I would have just been this most arrogant asshole ever.
I would have been Snidely Whiplash. I would have gone pretty much full Snidely. Yeah.
Very nice.
But yeah, just oh my word! If you couldn't tell, how could these actors not tell that they were in something that was going to be this bad?
Honestly, just the way most actors honestly would have been like, "Oh my God, I'm in Doctor Who. I'm going to shut up and do what I'm told."
To a degree, though.
Shut up and give me my money.
Yeah, if there was, honestly, I don't know British actors very well. Tell me right now if either of these actors have, a name in that way where they actually, would feel like they were entitled to actually have, something decent come out of their mouth.
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't recognize either of them.
I didn't recognize any of the three.
A seasoned actor will turn around and be like, well, I need to find a way to enjoy this role. Whereas somebody who's more concerned about impressing the director is going to be more just, I'm going to take what I'm given, I'm going to play it straight, and I'm not going, if the episode sucks, it's not going to be my fault. And that's the way they're going to look at it unless the director tells them something different.
Which seems to be more or less the way how things turned out.
It's still just a mess.
And I kind of feel like they were even trying not to appear, like they were trying to look like they were more likable than they were. And then when their actual lines came around and you found out their history, you're just like, you almost feel like they should have been, they should have played up their terrible qualities.
Perfect picture. The Doctor with dead eyes.
That was kind of my reaction to this episode. We had such great things expected, and I just had that expression watching it. Like you're just watching it fall apart in front of your eyes, and you're helpless to do anything about it.
Yep, there it is. Ta-da! This entire episode in a freaking nutshell.
Do you have a picture of that ridiculously cheesy and obvious prop, the history of the Time War?
The big book? I think there's a book I keep seeing periodically, but I can't say if it's really what you're looking for. This thing. Keep seeing this thing a lot.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Oh yeah, yep. I see Time War written right there. Not that big though. I can still zoom in though, I believe. Yep, here we go. As the other guys are watching the stream.
Yeah. Is there anything we haven't brought up yet?
I'm sorry, I still have the look of the dead-eyed Doctor just going,
I still can't get over the idea that even with its shields down, that the TARDIS could be destroyed by a scavenging... Like, I know it's a weapon more than a tool, but it's essentially a beam that's used to disable ships so that scavengers can come and take parts from them.
Here's the thing, though.
It's the TARDIS!
Yeah, here's the thing. I was just going to say, here's the thing, though. I don't remember the TARDIS ever having anything like frickin' shields until, the remake towards the end of the first... until the bring-back, until the end of the...
3 doctors, Matt. 3 doctors.
Oh. You know what? I guess you're right. Maybe you did. Still. I don't remember anyone ever actually constantly banging on about how we have to raise or lower the shields all the bleeding time. As far as I was aware, they're mostly usually always on.
I mean, him turning it off to fix it in Time Crash was kind of a, okay, it's a dumb excuse for something that's not supposed to be a serious episode.
Yeah.
But here, it's just kind of like they just needed an excuse for the TARDIS to be in the condition it's in. And it wasn't a very believable one.
Yes, I do have one more rant of doom.
Oh?
Okay, so they magnetically clamp onto the TARDIS, drop it onto the thing, where it's lying on its side at an angle.
Oh, that's right.
And then they cross the threshold for the TARDIS, and it's right side up, the interior. Whereas every other time we have shown that the TARDIS...
Yeah, I forgot about that. You know what? Yeah.
Its internals are at an angle.
That's how the pool ended up in the library.
That's how the pool ended up in the library, yes.
They dragged it in with a tractor beam or whatever, somehow dumped the Doctor out, and in the process, Clara got knocked farther back into the TARDIS. What are physics? What are physics? How do they work?
They work like this.
Maybe Stephen Thompson is a juggalo.
A what?
A juggalo. In
I
St.
thought you said
Cloud
gigolo. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
I was sitting here racking my brain during the sentence trying to make sure I said the right word. No, juggalo, yeah. An ICP fan. It doesn't know how magnets and physics work. Granted, there are no actual magnets here, but...
Physics, biatch. You're soaking in them.
Like, this isn't an equal and opposite reaction type of deal. And again, not that Doctor Who is always known for its amazing physics, but...
But still...
Usually the idea of, when you tip something to the left, everything falls to the left. When you tip it to the right, everything falls to the right. Not, when you tip it to the left, something falls to the left down the stairs, and something falls up the ceiling out the right.
And, the question is, how did, the Doctor actually wind up outside of the TARDIS in the first place?
Right, exactly.
There's no sense to this episode.
There's
no logic. There's no logic.
And the Doctor has no idea how he got out and Clara's still in it either. It was just a jump cut, and the Doctor was as confused by it as anybody else. The powers of editing.
By the power of Grayskull.
By the power of
the power invested in me by Adobe After Effects. And now pronouncing.
Regardless of what Flynn would say, a lot of these are plot holes. They're huge plot holes.
Were they plot holes or were they like giant rock quarries?
I think they were plot quarries, to be honest. Let's be honest.
I was actually going to say that there were plot holes big enough to drive the Death Star through.
I still can't get over the idea that we're talking about seeing more of the TARDIS than ever before, and what we got was Jeffrey's tubes and a rock quarry.
Yep.
I half expected Mel to be bouncing around in a bubble inside it.
Okay. Do we have anything else to say about this?
It sucks.
We've already said that.
Thumbs down. One out of however many we're rating it out of.
Dude, this is borderline trying to reach for 0 on my scale, man.
The only reason this doesn't get a 0 in my personal listing is because the fact that the library looked cool.
Yeah.
And did not have River Song.
The only reason it doesn't get a 0 for me is because I feel like you're rating it out of a number system, 1 is the bottom.
No. I rate it on a judge system. It gets points, and it loses points, and it only has positive points for this, so it gets 1. It only has the positive point for the library.
Yeah, pretty much the few good sets we saw were really good, but the rest of it was blatantly recycled tunnels, and it was getting really boring after a while.
I
Yes.
just don't get why we were just in the console room, and then the console room again, and then the console room again.
Would have been funnier if it was in like the cloister room or something.
Right. Or even
Oh hell, that would have been nice to even revisit, for the love of God.
Yes, it would have.
Yeah,
An
or
updated
even if-
version of that.
Or it would have been nice if, like, Clara walked into, like, the season 5 and 6, console room, and like, what the hell is this? Kind of like Amy and Rory did with the David Tennant's console room.
Hell, it would have been nice if she just would have walked into a room. Oh, there's the choral theme. Walked into another room. Well, there's the steampunk room. Wandered off again.
I mean,
It would
they
have
could've
nice
even
to see
gotten-
a classic
They
set.
could have even gotten a cameo from that doctor that actress from the last Diamond episode. I mean, granted, it really would not have made sense, but
Oh, the doctor's
would that
wife,
have
yeah.
hurt it in this point? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
you
I'm saying.
have an odd way of pronouncing names that keeps catching me off guard.
I'm not sure if it's Gaiman or Gaiman. It just looks
Gaiman.
like it should
It's
be
always
Gaiman.
been Gaiman.
Is it Gaiman?
That's the way I've always been told it.
I know he has I know it's a pet peeve of his when people mispronounce his name, but I can never actually, I didn't see the audio version of that interview, so I can't tell which one it is.
My buddy Mike said it was Neil Gaiman, and he saw an interview with him, so...
Pronunciation Geimen.
Gaiman?
EI, long A as it's
Gaiman.
Oh, okay.
it's Gaiman. Long A is in base. So it's Gaiman.
Yeah, it's Neil Gaiman.
Gotcha.
I've been right.
That's
I would hope that Jerry, the guy who got me back into comic books, would have pronounced it right. But, okay.
Gaiman. Yeah, Mun, actually.
Gaiman.
Like, there's also
It's
there's
Gaiman.
also
Gaiman.
there's also
It's like
something about
Damon,
pronouncing,
only with a G.
there's also something about pronouncing his name in a way that sounds like gay man, that just sounds like I'm out of line.
No, just remember, it's like Damon, only with a G. That kind of helps. Anyway, that's next week.
That's next week. Or tomorrow, technically, still, but...
No, well, by the time we
we're
get
not
to it, it's going to be next
recording
week.
tomorrow.
Yeah. But this will take us to part 2, because we've pretty much given that one a solid 1, which is our worst rating ever.
That worst rated episode yet.
So we're going to move on to the Crimson Horror.
The Crimson Horror. So closing this tab.
Do you want me to do the summary for this one?
It might be better.
Okay.
You don't
So
want- I
I'm
mean,
going
I
to skip.
tried,
I'm
but
going to
you know.
skip the intro bump at the moment and get into the episode. A man goes up to a house in London and requests to see the people inside, who happens to be our friends Vastra and Jenny. He mentions the fact that his brother had been working for a newspaper and doing research on a place called Sweetville up in the north. And that he had inexplicably come down with this red disease called the Crimson Horror. And he had photographed a picture of his brother's dying eyes, and after blowing it up, they discovered that in there is an image of the Doctor. Vastra, after discussing it over with Jenny and Strax, decides to send Jenny up there undercover to try to find out what's going on. Jenny goes up, gets a diversion, listens to the ranting of the lady that runs Sweet Town. What was her name? Anybody remember? Anybody?
I remember Mama.
Yeah. I don't remember catching her name.
Yeah, that's actually very Victorian. And really cannot be used as a character reference, as that was also a character in Ghost Town. or Ghost House. 7th Doctor episode. Brain dying on me here.
Ghostlight?
Ghostlight, thank you, yes. Mrs. Gillyflower is her name, is the one that owns it. And that was Diana Rigg. That was playing her. Anyway, she has this big kind of Luddite view on death by, of the horrors of technology. And preaches about this upcoming apocalypse, and basically is encouraging people to try to join her exclusive society at this location, Sweetville. Jenny manages to sneak behind the scenes and discovers that essentially the factory there is a fake, and eventually discovers the Doctor, where he's chained up underground, apparently also becoming the victim of this crimson horror as his skin is red and he's apparently half paralyzed. After getting him out, the Doctor seals himself inside this machine with his screwdriver, and after a few moments comes out normal. He then proceeds to look for Clara as they run into, eventually, Vastra, who came in looking for Jenny. And
meanwhile, Jenny's sitting there like, what are you talking about? We saw Clara die.
Yes.
Back in the snowman.
Mm-hmm.
They find Clara eventually under glass, actually, in some form of suspension. And the Doctor puts her through the same process, and it discovers that essentially what's being used to create this crimson horror is the venom of a prehistoric red leech from Vastra's era. So they set out to find this, and eventually confront Mrs. Gillyflower, who it turns out is actually building a rocket to spread poison all over the planet, causing an apocalypse. Her partner in this, Mr. Sweet, who the Sweetville is named after, is actually the red leech, which is attached to her. Well, to make a long story short, the Doctor stops the rocket, the leech is destroyed, and everybody lives happily ever after.
Except for the bad guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and he never explains Clara to them.
No, he doesn't. Oh yeah, and Clara goes home and gets found out by the people she's nannying.
By the children that she's nannying, yes.
Because they have several pictures of her on a Russian submarine, and in a house in the 70s, and in Victorian London, and oh wait, that's not her. That was the other Clara.
That wasn't me. I was at
Yeah. Oopsie. So now they want to ride in the TARDIS. But we'll learn more about that next week. This was not the greatest episode, in my opinion.
Not great, massively great, no, but it wasn't, say, nearly as bad coming off of something like Journey to the Heart of the TARDIS.
Compared to Journey, it's gem.
Yeah.
But it has its issues. Most of those issues
I don't think it's great, but it seems it's kind of like a random classic Who episode where they just show up into you just show up in an era and there's some kind of problem. And
actually, it has elements with both the Next Doctor and the Snowmen, which both did the same story and did it better. However, like the Snowmen, it has the feeling that it was rushed or unfinished. There are parts of it.
Sorry.
And that's right.
It was written as a long episode or a two-parter, and that it was cut down to size. And
that's right. Yeah, we were kind of talking about this before, right? About how the moratorium on two-parters for this half of the season could probably hurt probably at least hurt the exposition and explanations of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Because there's no real motivation for this. which is also, if you recall, my issue with the snowmen. Why does Miss... What was her name again? I'm horrible with names, can't you tell?
Yeah, I'm no better with them.
Miss Gillyflower want to basically cause the apocalypse. It's not explained.
Evil monsters attached to her, ergo evil!
But how did she get the monster? There's no explanation for what's going on. And the actual scenes themselves seem so much rushed, as if they were pacing for time. Things that we should have found out actually happened in fast flashbacks. Yet they still have time to put in the worst joke ever in the history of Doctor Who.
Was waiting for that.
I would point out, I agree with it being a completely face-palm-worthy joke, although I don't feel it has the same measure of magnitude Randy does, but go ahead and tell it.
Alright, there's a scene where Strax, who, by the way, is maintaining the role I didn't like him in The Snowman as being basically a walking single joke,
Although he was less jokey this time.
is apparently lost trying to get to Sweetville. And he's basically about to shoot his horse, mentioning that it's the third time this week, when a boy says, "You're having troubles finding your way." And A asks for directions, and the boy's like, "Turn around when next available. Take the first right. Continue on for 1/2 mile, and you have reached your destination."
I think he actually said turn around whenever available, which made me get the idea that he was telling him to just keep spinning in circles.
But the Strax, apparently impressed, asks the boy his name. And the boy's name, he says, "Thomas, sir. Thomas. Now, a few are going, what's this joke? Well, shorten up Thomas and you get Tom, which is a very popular GPS service, both here and in England. In fact, it's the primary service in England. So, yes, they just did a GPS joke in Victorian England. Had this been 60s, I could have bought it as being cute. But 100 years before the GPS was created, no.
Now, here's a question, and I have a feeling you're going to tell me just a flat-out no. But with the way this season's been toward the past, is this in any way even slightly reminiscent of anything to do with the early 80s Doctor Who? Even a little bit.
There is a little bit. And this is something I give this credit for, the music.
Yeah.
I actually meant that particular joke. Was that in any way?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, the joke? Oh, hell no.
Anything
Fuck
you would
no.
have seen in the Davison era. Okay.
Oh, hell no.
No, they have more tact than that.
Yeah.
I thought as much, but I figured I'd ask.
No, there was no excuse for that joke. No. But no, this episode did have some reminiscence of older classical. There's this scene where Jenny's checking out what's under the door that eventually winds up holding the Doctor, and there's this wonderful little piano sting that's very reminiscent of late Fifth Doctor era. It's very, very, very nice. I'm like, wow. And I will admit that Vasta and Jenny, I liked them. I liked their use in this a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Than I liked them in The Snowman.
They actually had something to do this time.
Oh, yes.
They had something to do. They were relevant to the plot. It was good.
Although, if anything, I feel like the way they sold the episode, I kind of wish the Doctor had come in later.
Yes. I actually kind of wish that, too.
Yeah, they seem to be selling it hard on trying to get these characters to do something.
Especially when they had the photo of the Doctor early on, they kind of went into this, like, it was less Jenny and Vastra researching something than Jenny and Vastra are going to find the Doctor, and in the meanwhile, they happen to research something that...
I would have loved to have them come up here and start piecing together this investigation. and see what happened. Instead of the massive wall of flashback on what happened to the Doctor and Clara, they get bits and pieces. Would have actually been cooler if they'd found Clara before they'd found the Doctor.
Yeah.
They would have needed a longer episode. It would have had to have been a two-parter, and this one-parter probably wouldn't have had the Doctor in it at all. I could have lived with that.
Yeah.
Well, if there was a one-parter without the Doctor, then that would put Jenny and Vastra right up there with the Daleks, because they're the only ones who've ever had an episode of the Doctor before.
Classic Who, yeah.
But it would all have been about finding the Doctor, which would have made it cool.
Waiting for the Doctor.
Because, yes, imagine that scene where they're crawling under there and they see the red-faced form of the Doctor coming towards them. Imagine that being the end of the first of a two-parter.
Yeah.
And, that means that episode would have become 10 times more cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah. Of course, then the next episode would have started with, I'm going to heal myself with the Sonic.
I can explain that.
Possibly not, but it's never
explained
in the episode.
They don't actually explain it there, but he could have actually been using the screwdriver to manipulate the machinery.
Yes. That's what I instantly hit on. I'm not sure why you guys were freaking out earlier on that.
It's because it didn't really look like it. It looked like he was basically just hand-waving himself with the screwdriver.
No. He was messing with the machine somehow. I knew that.
Of course, yeah, considering that the screwdriver can reprogram any machine to do anything different than the actual technology in it is capable of.
No, I think that's actually what the device did, because he used it again on Clara later.
It can't be, because he was the only person to survive failing that process.
However, you forget that they were also looking for a cure, which was being tested on the daughter.
Yeah, not really relevant in this. It could have been that the machinery has been updated since the Doctor went through it. It's a bit hand-wavy and not really well explained, which is my key problem with this episode. That and Strax.
See, I found Strax to be better this time.
I just want to interrupt you earlier. Strax, I feel, was more serious in this episode. There were still jokes, but less of it was him, being a straight-up joke.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he felt like he was trying to be a proper Victorian gentleman, and coming from Strax, it just felt surreal. It just felt really weird, almost like, it almost made him like something Douglas Adams would write, where he's like, he's like this, stand-up, straight-up character, but at the same time a punchline.
Yeah, it's like I was watching my second watch through, and there wasn't really a scene where he wasn't being a joke or being incompetent.
Very end of the episode, he was extremely competent.
Do you count the Tom scene as him being incompetent?
Yes, he got lost.
He got lost. He was part of him being incompetent.
Yes.
It's not solely based on the horse.
He was effective there, but he was also being completely anachronistic by that point, Matt. Because he was in full Suntaran Barty armor and brandishing a plasma weapon. And, the lack of people freaking out about that.
God, since Matt just scrolled by that, the joke about Boy and Jenny really, really, really needs to go away. Matt just scrolled by it on the stream.
Yeah.
I had to say something.
He's been doing this bit as basically
he's been doing that
their
since
Guy
his first
Friday
appearance.
for how long now?
Yeah. Like, they're literally only saying it so that people who are fans of the first time he said it can laugh again.
Yeah.
Or so that Vastra can make a lesbian joke. And that's really about it. And I'm sorry, you were saying something. I know it was relevant, but I had to say it.
No, I was just going to say, how long has he been their Guy Friday by now?
But no, you were saying something. That's right. You were saying something about about why.
Why would they actually? He's running around in Suntaran battle armor, brandishing high-energy weaponry, and nobody's freaking out.
The only person who freaks out in Jenny and Vastra's presence is that guy who keeps fainting every time.
And that I actually liked.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked about this episode.
Was he the same guy from the Snowmen or a different guy?
No, he is a different guy.
He's a different guy.
Because I feel like somebody had the same reaction when they first saw Vastra's face. And I thought that was him, but I wasn't sure.
I thought I recall.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So it was just a different guy.
Yeah, but no, the fact that every time he showed up, he kept seeing something impossible and passed out. First one being Vastra's face, second one being Strax, although it's surprising he didn't see Strax the first time he was there, and the third seeing the TARDIS dematerialize, and each one caused him to faint. I found to be amusing. It was a nice
I'm more kind of find that
episode.
Yeah, I'm more kind of find that a character in that role, especially a male character at that time, would have just more been like denying what he saw. Like, that's not what I saw.
Yeah, you would think it would be more British of that, just the stiff upper lip and go for brandy.
Or actually take the brandy off his coat pocket and toss it away.
No, that's not really British. That would be more American street, Matt. Learn your cultures.
I've seen many cultures do that. Hell, man, I've seen Japanese do it.
Usually the drunk wino that does it, Matt. Not the British gentleman.
Really? Because I've seen rednecks do it, and they're not exactly known for being winos. But that's another topic.
Rednecks
are not rednecks, though. Wait, that's not exactly.
Rednecks aren't known for being winos. They're known for drinking a 6-pack before breakfast.
Yeah, dude, they're not alcoholics. They're professionals.
No more corn liquor in my total for breakfast.
For any rednecks out there, I apologize because.
No, don't bother to apologize.
I mean, I know we've
any
said
rednecks that would be offended by this don't know how to use a computer, Bill.
We don't.
They don't need them sophisticated adding machines.
I know. We've said worse things about rednecks on this show before, but still.
I will make no apologies. I will make fun of rednecks and the Deep South because I'm related to them. So hey.
Eat it, South. Oh. And we're getting hate emails in 3, 2.
Yeah, right. If we could get a hate comment, I think that would be a milestone for us.
Oh, dude, you haven't seen the trolls that come after my channels, man.
Well, I was going to say, I know you and I have gotten trolls on our individual work, I'm saying for the podcast. If we can get a first troll on the podcast, you know we've made it.
Looks like we made it.
Oh, I want hate mail, a cease and desist. Of course, yes. Please send all your hate mail.
So we can ignore it and go, yay, we've hit a nerve.
See, if Flynn had an email address that wasn't his personal name that he doesn't use for the air, I would use that as the address of the hate mail, but I don't want to blow up his personal life that way.
And once we get it from the rednecks, we know we can go on. We can then proceed to go on to annoying Jews and the Greeks, and then we'll just keep going west across Europe.
I'd like to take a personal stop at the Dutch, the freaky deaky Dutch.
Oh, but I could go on an hour rant making fun of Belgium.
We could.
Just the name itself is offensive in some parts of the universe.
We can invite Sophie again so that we can make fun of Scandinavia.
Come on, folks, you know you want a female co-host.
So let's see, Crimson Horror. My main... yeah, it's one of those episodes where it kind of fits with the Doctor Who flow, but at the same time, when you actually look at things, it's like, I'm not sure, like the whole thing about the leech, the leech being named Mr. Sweet, and everything. It's like it almost makes sense, but it's not. It doesn't have the opportunity to get to making sense.
Yeah. Also, we're dealing with basically. Okay. First of all, how did a leech live for millions of years?
Yeah.
Secondly, I mean, how did Silurians did suspended animation, but this thing doesn't look like it has the capability of creating technology. Which gets me to the point of how the hell...
You can kind of tell that it's evolved in millions of years, but if it's the only one of its species, what happened, where's the rest of the species? What happened to them, and why did he survive?
And how is that basically making Mrs. Gilliflower capable of creating a full-born rocket
And of course,
in the 1890s?
Since I'm asking that, I kind of have to...
50 years prior to the Germans creating the V1.
I kind of have to at this point ask, because I don't think we even asked it their most recent appearance. How did Jenny and Strax Jenny and Basher, Jenny might have somehow been Victorian, I don't know, but how the hell did their whole setup happen?
It's never been established.
It happened, yeah.
We never know when Vastra met Jenny. We know it's plausible. Because we know the Silurians live underground, deep underground in suspended animation. It's possible Vastra got out, but how she didn't go around and just killing,
Well, they did mention that the Doctor found her and stopped her from killing humans. But that happened off screen in between episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. These three came up, I think, during that half season of season 6 where I wasn't watching anymore.
The three of them were introduced in A Good Man Goes to War, and they all supposedly had a history with the Doctor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and again, that half season, they were introduced during that half season I wasn't watching.
And I thought that they had been introduced in the previous 2 seasons.
Hell no.
And that I just didn't recognize them, but I was wrong.
No, they just were pretty much Moffat just created them out of the blue.
Which is exactly what the major problem is. It's the Moffat creation, which means he'll never explain it.
It's okay when you do that with a monster, but when you're creating these characters that are going to be recurring allies, and there's no beginning to them, what the hell, man?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'd kind of like to see an episode with Vastra and Jenny, on the TARDIS with the Doctor. Just, I don't have a companion right now, but I'm going to take these guys and go solve a civil war.
Or even better yet, a mystery.
Yeah.
The Doctor finds a mystery on Planet X in the year 300,000, and he needs a detective to solve it, so he goes back and hires Vastra and Jenny.
Kind of like with dinosaurs on a spaceship, except making sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be a decent episode. I would enjoy that. It would establish the characters more, and it would be doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Not to mention Captain Potato Head could also be a part of something that he's more used to, as compared to the Victorian background, which he obviously seems to be clashing with.
I like Strax better before he died.
I keep hearing he was dead, and they didn't explain how he came back either.
They kind of,
Exactly.
they one or two lined it in the Snowmen. But yes, we watched him die in A Good Man Goes.
Before he died, his main role was calling people boys so that Vastra can make a lesbian joke. That was his main role in that episode.
In what?
In A Good Man Goes to War.
Except for the fact that he was a nurse and he was sane.
He was sane? Well, for Centauran.
Mm-hmm. He was competent, let me put it that way. He was, for whatever reason, he had done something that the Doctor had faced the Doctor and lived.
He had lost in battle, and somehow the Doctor had convinced his race to make... Oh, no. Maybe not his race, because he was serving humans. But the doctor had made him become a nurse in order to regain his honor. Something.
Mm-hmm. But he was a more in-depth character back then. Which, unlike...
He at least had goals and aspirations.
He had goals, he had aspirations, there was more to his character, but he has become so two-dimensional since he came back. And I don't know, it's just... I just don't like the character of Strax anymore because of that.
And that scene that Matt's showing in the stream, I kind of wish we had gotten to see Jenny just kick everybody's asses there.
A bit more, yes.
I don't know, especially that outfit brings out the desire in me. I don't know why.
That's, I think, bordering on too much information, Bill.
Bill? Bill? Go back to us, Bill.
I did not need to know that. I could have lived a long, happy life not knowing that.
You want something more personal? How the fuck is a natural toxin from a leech poison? Does anybody read a dictionary in fuck?
In fuck. This is just about saying fuck right now, isn't it?
This is a very strange version of me ranting because it normally is a... I would know if it weren't on a podcast,
it would be something that it would be something that makes sailors blush.
That sentence would have ended with about 7 random profanities.
Go right ahead, Bill. I don't think we have a rating cap on this.
No,
not that I'm aware of.
And then we could just take that clip, play it repeatedly.
Make a rap song out of it.
Bill to rest.
Make a rap song out of it, Bill. Go ahead. I see people do it.
Craig Ferguson and just have it do a whole bunch of French phrases when we edited this.
But seriously, do they not understand the difference between a poison, a toxin, and a venom? Like, why would a leech have a venom anyway? Why would it want to kill its prey if it's a leech?
That really doesn't make a lot of sense. Unless it's to use on stuff it's not, that it's, trying to remove it from. But still, that'd be more of an excretion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, it suffers from, I think, the fact that it also needed to have a little re-editing, a little smoothing, and a little more definition. And it probably should have been longer, because there's a lot of stuff that wasn't explained that should have been.
Oh, God.
And I believe Flynn went on Rick and the podcast on saying he loved this episode. That doesn't surprise me.
Hey, Randy, your favorite character.
I'm not paying attention, Matt. I was actually looking through the Skype logs. We chat when we're not broadcasting.
Thomas.
Too much.
I found Thomas. For the stream, everyone, this is the character's name that broke Randy's brain and went, horrible joke. So moving on. I'm not sure what Tony Danza is doing here. So, are we done talking about the episode? Are we going to numbers now?
Do we have anything more to say about it?
Do we have more to say other than rehashing what we've said? I mean...
It's alright. It's okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay.
Motivation. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where if they made it like a 4-part Classic Who serial or a 2-part New Who adventure, it could have worked out very well. But in the 1-episode format, it just feels like they didn't have time to really think about explaining a lot of things, and they kind of got the right idea, but didn't take it far enough.
It was too rushed. This had potential to be a really good episode, but they didn't have time to make it such. And I don't know if that was both screen time and production time, or if it was just screen time. I can't really tell.
Yeah, it's not as blatantly obviously bad as the previous episode, trying to center the TARDIS, and ergo we can't really place blame on one particular part or another as to what this actually kind of coughed and dragged on.
Yeah.
What tripped over and ended up being what it is, but it's still, we can't exactly blame it for being the worst thing out there.
No, that was the previous episode. That was Journey, which also kind of wins my Waterworld award for being the fact that they hyped it so much.
Yeah, they hyped it a ridiculous extent. Oh, I'm not sure if we mentioned this. What did you guys think of the Tegan reference, or any plus minus meh?
It was fine. It was perfect for what they were trying to do. If there had been a Fourth Doctor reference in the previous episode,
Yeah,
and if there had, it fell on the cutting room floor.
I feel like somebody had the idea that talking about Time Lords and the Eye of Harmony were Fourth Doctor references, which would work if the Time Lords hadn't been mentioned so much in the past 8 years, and the Eye of Harmony hadn't been mentioned in the episode prior.
So yeah, that kind of, the Fourth Doctor references last time kind of flopped over and just wiggled. Well, they would have made it official if they would have brought up something more along the lines of, say, Sarah Jane or something. Or Robotic Dogs.
Sarah Jane is a cross, but a canine reference would have been okay.
Yeah, Robotic Dogs.
There could have been like a room of like spare canines or something just waiting to be activated.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, why wasn't there a room like that in the TARDIS? There could have been, it could have easily been one of those fake rooms that we saw where all of a sudden she just looks in, looks for a second as there's wall-to-wall robotic canines just sitting there.
Right.
I would have loved to see a room that had, a set of thrown together shelves. That was obviously a workshop, and one of the things on there was a canine box.
Right. Or even the wardrobe, the walk-in wardrobe with all the different costumes, just showing a bunch of classic Doctor costumes.
Oddly enough, there was a Seventh Doctor reference.
Oh.
Wait, now, let me try and think of it. In TARDIS?
Yeah.
Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that much McCoy. I've only seen a couple episodes, to be honest.
The only episode of his I haven't finished yet, I think, is Delta and the Bannerman.
Yep, it actually was a when Clara is in that room where she grabs like the little clay TARDIS.
I remember that
from
room.
Amy's era stuff. She also at the end of it picks up an umbrella, which, if it wasn't the same, was remarkably like the umbrella Sylvester McCoy started with.
Oh,
in the Seventh Doctor era. Not the one he had in later seasons, which was the big red question mark handle.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the one he had before that.
Oh,
One
okay.
he had for like the first, and I think the second season. I don't know, I'd have to watch Remembrance again to see if he had it in the second season or not. But
I think he had then.
Yeah. But so then it was his first season that he had the standard wooden handle umbrella. There's a funny story behind that umbrella. That was actually a gift to him by a fan.
The question mark?
The question mark umbrella, yeah.
And I think they made one more because I saw a reference somewhere that there were two. I think Sylvester McCoy has one, and the Doctor Who Museum has the other one.
The more you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember seeing something with an interview with McCoy about that umbrella and saying it was mailed as a gift or something.
So, numbers then? 1 to 5 on this one?
I'm thinking another 3. I'm thinking it's very middle of the road where it wasn't bad enough for me to dislike it, but it wasn't good enough for me to really like it either.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that one. Just middle of the road.
I have to give it a little lower, mostly for the Tom joke. And like I said, Strax is just rubbing me the wrong way.
So this is one tie with Rings of Cotton then?
I think so. If you guys are giving it a solid 3, I'm giving it a 2.5.
Which gives it like, what, 2.85, something like that?
Something like that. Is that what you're giving it, Matt? 3?
Yeah, I gave it middle of the road 3. Pretty much, that's what it is. It's middle of the road.
Well,
Some grown moments, some yay moments.
Do we want to try to extrapolate Flynn's rating?
No. I couldn't if I wanted to.
I have no idea how that man's mind works on these things.
So yeah, that's a 2.83 repeating. And yes, I actually did the research on that.
By research, you mean calculation?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey,
Like, shut up.
I was only 2 off. I was guessing. So
2.83 repeating, and the other one was a solid 1.
1. This is the worst episode we've seen since the beginning of this season. Hell, since the beginning of this new series.
It was crap.
Since before that, what was the worst episode? What was the worst episode of the 80s?
Verboids, baby?
No, I think it was the first episode of the Sixth Doctor, the Twin Dilemma.
Oh, that one was boring as sin too. Yeah.
It's either the Twin Dilemma or it was
what's the time in the Ronnie? Because I didn't hate that episode.
No, it was one in the same season. The one with H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells.
Yeah.
H.G. Wells.
Actually, excuse me, it was in the season after that one.
Still not making any clicks with me. H.G. Wells?
When I type his name into Google, Time Lash comes up on Google.
That's the episode. Yeah, that was
that was
a shit episode too.
So so how would you compare Journey to either Time Lash or the Twin Dilemma?
Oh, Journey is far worse.
So before that is what? The guns. Anything in the second, third, or fourth
I would have to look to find. I would really have to dig to find an episode that bad.
Yeah, it's. If nothing else, we can at least vouch for normally that there was some sort of quality control back in the day. Because look at this thing. I think about the only other thing I can think of that people nowadays would rate anywhere near as bad as Journey might be that one of the ants.
No, that's...
And that's mostly just due to the fact of fail of plot and fail of costuming, but all the rest of it, the characters were still doing pretty decent.
I haven't seen feedback as bad with that. I mean, I've heard, was it Gunslingers or Gunfighters?
Oh yeah, the Gunslinger actually, yeah. Yeah, you know what? No, forget the bug planets. The Gunslinger, oh my god. And the funny thing is that even some of the people who have acted in Doctor Who have gone back and watched that episode and went, the hell?
I mean, I know. Like, for example, Flynn has a particular hatred of the Base Under Siege stories, so he might have one of those that he could compare to this. But I don't know if I don't think everybody would agree.
Gunslinger is one a lot of people can agree on. Oh my word, what were they
I haven't seen
thinking?
that one yet.
I can't say I've watched it either. I think I thankfully skipped over that one.
I've seen it once, and it was years ago.
When Captain Jack Harkness can honestly tell you.
It's really mostly a bad episode because of historical fail.
Historical fail, and then there's a little bit of what the hellery mixed in. They're forcing the companions to sing in front of a piano at gunpoint. What the hell?
Historical fail was kind of common in the first Doctor era.
Well, did they do historical fail with gunpoint singing with a piano?
I have no idea what you just said, Matt.
There's a entire chunk that I keep seeing the most about is that the companions, while the Doctor is trying to get a tooth pulled, are being held up by a bunch of other guys at a piano in a saloon and being forced to sing at gunpoint. And it's not even good singing either.
That sounds like something Russell T Davies would write into an episode though. I could see it. I could so totally see it with someone standing there holding Rose, Jack, and David Tennant. Or, no, that wouldn't work because you wouldn't have the three of them. Rose, Jack, and Christopher Eccleston at gunpoint, forcing them to sing.
Yeah, because if you got David Tennant and John Barrowman in there, they'll just do a beatbox version of the Doctor Who theme.
And with that, we call this episode a do. And we hope that the next episode is going to be a hell of a lot better than this.
It's, of course...
I've seen, I mean, granted, you can't go by what you hear on the internet, but I've seen someone claim it was the scariest Cybermen episode since Tomb. I don't know how much I will believe that.
Well, okay, this week's episode, or next week's, as we'll review it, Nightmare in Silver has a lot going for it.
Neil.
It's Cybermen. It's Neil it's Neil Gaiman. It's, I've seen the trailer. It looks good. It has Warwick Davis in it.
Warwick Davis. Brain. Oh, yeah, I follow him on Twitter.
A.K.A. Wicket, A.K.A. Willow.
Yep.
Do we know what role he's going to play yet?
He's some sort of midget
character by the name of Porridge. That's all I can say.
I remember seeing that. I remember someone saying that he was, had a very powerful screen presence, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
he's Warwick Davis.
He's freaking Warwick Davis. He's always had screen presence.
That doesn't really say anything other than the fact that he's not a bit character.
He hasn't lost his touch.
And if he was a bit character, then someone needs to be smacked, because I don't know why the hell you'd have him in as a bit character.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of was in the Harry Potter movies.
Well, that's Harry freaking Potter.
Kind of.
He played Professor Flitwick in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I guess Flitwick was kind of reduced in the movies. So.
But I might add, if you're looking at the stream also, oh my god, they finally did an upgrade to the costume.
We knew that before the season even started.
Yeah, I know, but up close, big screen here.
Although you must admit, looking at the center of them, Tony Stark called. He wants his art reactor back.
I do think this C for Cybermen. I know it wasn't for Cybermen, but still the
Cybus C.
Yeah, that I still like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I like.
It looks like there. From what I saw in the trailer, is there are a few of the old era Cybermen in there. So this might do for the Cybermen what Victory of the Daleks did for the Daleks.
Maybe.
Only, of course, do it well.
I kind of wonder what the Cyber Leader is going to look like.
Oh, I hope they have a Cyber Leader. That'd be awesome.
Or a controller.
Cyber Leader, Cyber Controller, something. Some of the big boss names come back. Hell, it'd be awesome. They also got some of the voice actors to come back too.
I kind of hope,
it's Nick Briggs again.
I I kind of hope they get Briggs to say excellent, but
Excellent.
I hope they do change the modulation for the Cybermen, just, for updated Cybermen, updated
Right.
voice.
I mean, they didn't. I mean, I don't know. Briggs and whoever. I don't know if he does. If he does his own voice work, or if somebody else controls parts of the modulators. But they did a really good job with him in Cold War, so
Yeah.
I hope they keep experimenting.
Yeah, they
I
did
hope so.
really good job in Cold
really-
War, so
I think Briggs does his own.
please.
But yeah, I want to hear a new Cyberman voice. The Cybermen have had the same voice now for 5 seasons. That's a record for them.
Yeah.
Because when was Excellent Guy introduced? Which episode?
That was during the 5th Doctor. So that
Or
was
Scott-
like early 80s.
83.
So 83 to 89.
88.
88? Oh, you're right. 89 there was no Cyberman episode.
Right.
So yeah, 83 to 88. So yeah, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if he appeared in any tangential work?
Not that I'm aware of.
Either Big Finish or BBV or anything
Yeah, he
like
didn't
that?
do BBV, but he might have done it in Big Finish, but I don't think so, because I think Nick Briggs did.
Yeah.
That's where they got Nick Briggs, He was doing
Right.
Dalek and Cyberman voices for Big Finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before that he gained notoriety by playing fan doctors. Both in audiovisual and then for the BBV.
But yeah, that's all for the stream. We're going off on tangents now.
All right, join us
right,
hopefully next week at the same time. If not, in 2 weeks.
But hopefully next week for the Silver Nemesis, or not.
Yeah,
Return of the
hopefully
Silver
once-
Nemesis.
Because I really would like both Gaiman and the season finale to get their own episodes.
Okay.
True. We'll see, hopefully.
Okay, so then see you next week.
Next
Same
week.
TARDIS time, same TARDIS channel.
Bum.
And play us out, Matt.
We're supposed to turn it off. What? What is this thing doing?